And so with that, it is my pleasure to introduce our two speakers today. Our first speaker will be Kartik Jha. He is a assistant research scientist at Texas A&M Transportation Institute. Since joining TTI in 2014, Mr. Kartik Jha has been involved in urban planning and travel reliability measure, freight mobility, and special event traffic management projects. Our second speaker today will be Vivek Gupta. He is a assistant research engineer, also at at Texas A&M Transportation Institute. Mr. Gupta is a seasoned professional specializing in traffic congestion analysis, road safety evaluation, and network level pavement management. So with that, it is my pleasure to introduce both speakers. Today's topic is predicting travel and congestion in a post-pandemic America. So gentlemen, take it away.
Thank you, Stephanie. I hope you all can hear me fine.
Sound great.
Thank you. All right. Good morning and good afternoon, everyone, depending on where you are. Thank you for joining us on this presentation on the findings of this project performed by the Texas A&M Transportation Institute in the years 2022-2023 for the National Institute for Congestion Reduction. That tells you upfront that it has been a little while since this project was delivered. But as you would see during the course of this presentation, very interestingly, some of the observations and key findings have continued to persist since. I am joined by my colleague Vivek Gupta, who is a key contributor to the work performed in this project as well.
Hello, everyone.
So to lay a good outline for the entire scope of work, this slide presents a brief explanation of the work that was performed during the two phases of the project. During phase one, performed in year 2021-2022, through a combination of lab experiments of human behavior and through user surveys, the focus was on exploration of psychological factors which contributed to low transit ridership even after the pandemic had subsided to practical levels. During phase two, which is the focus of this presentation, this work was performed in year 2022-23. The research focused on when and where any reduction in transit usage occurred, possible contributing factors, and ultimately relate that change to changes in travel behavior and patterns post-pandemic. So I will introduce the outline of the presentation and some of the broad picture observations for transit usage during and after the pandemic. And Vivek will delve deeper into some of the more specific findings of the study. To set the stage for subsequent analyses, a multi-state coverage across the United States was laid out to capture the impact of COVID-19 on transportation in general and transit in particular using large-scale traffic and transit data. The compounding effects of modal choices along with the ability to remote work had a meaningful impact on transportation system performance metrics and highway congestion. Some of these impacts were captured by different geographies across the US, modes of travel, and types of transit, as you would see in the following slides. As the chart on the left of this slide and the accompanying statistics on the right side of the slide highlight, not quite surprisingly, transit usage fell dramatically during and shortly after the onset of pandemic, as did a lot of other travel modes, except roadway travel maybe, which fell too, but not as dramatically, at least relatively speaking. While roadway travel fell to about half of its pre-pandemic level at the peak of the pandemic, it was dwarfed by the levels of fall in transit as well as air travel usage, as we all experienced personally as well. What has been more remarkable, though, is how these different modes have behaved and bounced back since lifting of any pandemic-induced travel restrictions. By October 2021, which is graphed on this slide, while roadway travel had come up to practically the same levels of VMT usage, miles traveled usage, as pre-pandemic, transit usage was still down about 50%, along with rail and air travel, which had still better recovery, which showed still better recovery in comparison to transit. The same observations are illustrated in this chart, where the data is extended to year 2022. And we can see that even in 2022, which is reasonably well past the post-pandemic shock, daily unlinked transit trips had shown only modest recovery compared to other travel modes, still down more than 40% from 2019 levels, even though they had started showing modest year-over-year increases, as you can see here, in the early teens to early single-digit growths year over year for transit usage. For a more nuanced analysis compared to using just overall transit ridership numbers, the different modes of transit were subdivided into different classes as shown on the slide. For example, buses were categorized into three categories: bus, commuter bus, and bus rapid transit. Similarly, as you can see here, different modes of transit were subdivided to lend themselves better for further analysis by submodes because as you'll see later in the presentation, some urban areas might have a few or several of these subcategories of transit operating in their regions. As a sequel to our earlier discussion, for example, you can see here that the kinds of recovery shown in ridership varies by specific modes of transit as well. Specifically, at a national level, bus transit recovered the most post-pandemic compared to other types such as heavy rail or light rail. But notice this observation is in terms of raw numbers of trips taken by transit users. When normalized for those number of trips in terms of percentages, they all showed only a modest range of recovery post-pandemic. I'll hand it over to Vivek now for a discussion on the trends observed in different urban areas studied and the key findings of the study. Take it away, Vivek.
Vivek, don't forget to unmute.
Yes.
Oh, thank you. Uh, so how do we select these 20 metropolitan areas? Our mix of 20 metropolitan areas comprised of very large and medium type base metros. All the metro sizes have been classified as per the population. The idea is to get this mix was to see how travel impacted across all the large and small size urban areas. Um, so we could see one of the examples here. Let's look at NYC, which is a very large urban area. And it's one of the very large areas where transit has a big share out of the daily travel. As you all know, um, I think I'm showing a different slide here. So, uh, apart from uh, apart from the travel performance measures, in addition to the analyzing transit trips, we also examined how auto congestion and its relationship with other traffic performance measures. Specifically, we looked at how travel delay, travel time index, consumer stress index, and fuel consumption. Just a highlight to our listeners, travel delay represents the extra time spent in traffic compared to the free flow conditions, highlighting the extent of congestion. The travel time further quantifies this by comparing peak travel times to those in the freeway conditions, providing a clear measure of congestion severity. Additionally, the consumer stress index, which captures the psychological impact of traffic, considering traffic stress, unpredictability, stop and go conditions, and overall traffic frustration. Uh, Lastly, fuel consumption is a crucial metric as a congestion often leads to inefficient fuel use, increasing both economic and environment cost. Together, all these measures offer a comprehensive understanding of how traffic congestion helps to inform transportation planning and policy decisions. We won't look at all the measures for this presentation, but a few of them. Um, so let's look at New York City as an example here. Um, so you all know that New York City is a very large urban area, and it's one of the larger urban areas where transit has a really big share out of the daily travel. Um, and famously known as subways here. This mode comes under the heavy rail category. You could see that the heavy rail saw a 60% dip in 2020, but it has recovered to 54% and then a 35% in 2022, faster than all the other two modes of travel, which were light rail and buses. Uh, Buses saw a lower dip than rails, but there is still a recovery in 2022. Um, Another large size metro area is Boston here. Here we could see heavy rail saw a big dip, but it doesn't has recovery rate similar to New York City. This mode comes under the category of heavy rail. An interesting observation could be seen with the buses. Buses saw a lower dip than rails, but still has a faster recovery than heavy rails in 2022. Now let's look at a very medium-sized metro here. Here we see Minneapolis as an example. Um, in this medium-sized area, we see a big dip in the light rail and a very slight recovery in 2022. And same we could see with the buses that overall it was like 50-55% decrease in the PMT. So we also look at how other urban areas have face these challenges here. So all the modes of transit ridership were down significantly for these big urban areas. Overall, heavy rail saw a big dip in transit ridership, but it doesn't look to come back um, compared to other large and very large urban areas. Atlanta, Philadelphia, and Washington, D.C. saw a big dip in heavy rail, but not much recovery. Notable exceptions are here Seattle and New York City, which saw a very good recovery rate. Buses saw a moderate dip compared to heavy rail, but seeing better recovery than, but seeing the better recovery than the heavy rail here. Um, we also looked at traffic, how laws in transit ridership impacts the overall um auto auto performance measures. There was some relationship here seen between the heavy rail and total delay. A dip in heavy rail, uh, often in Philadelphia, Atlanta, was seen that it could be related with increase in total delay. It could be interpreted that some of the travelers which used heavy rails uh, shifted to private auto ownership, which could be reflected in the slight increase in the total delay parameter here. Um, and this could be various reasons. One of the reasons could be that how people are staying at home in the post-COVID era. This was a data published by the census here, where we could see how many people chose to stay at home post-COVID. On an average, it looked like there was still close to 10 to 15% staying more at home compared to the pre-COVID levels. This could be seen with people who chose to work from home and avoided going out for work or the other kind of trips. Um, so we also looked at another parameter, which is not just staying at home, but also working from home. Again, we saw a graph which supports the previous slides. Work from home has increased across urban areas, and there is quite a big range from 9% in Miami to over 16% in the tech dominated industries in in San Francisco. This could be reason that you could see uh, a variety in the impact of COVID-19 on travel needs. Uh, we also looked at how it relates to one of the performance measures here. We saw that there is a big change in AM and PM peak periods in 2019 in 2020 compared to 2019. You could see that the AM peak completely vanished in 2020. It's mostly due to the stay-at-home measures and the remote possible options of remote from home. We also that see that the weekday delay has reduced overall, especially Mondays and Fridays in 2022 compared to the pre-COVID levels. While the weekends like Saturday and Sunday have seen a big shift in demand, and weekend delay has increased post-COVID. So overall, we could make some conclusions here that reduction in transit usage could lead to congestion in some of the dense urban areas, especially like the very large urban areas. Modest recovery has been seen in public transit for large metro areas like Washington, D.C., San Francisco, compared to the auto travel recovery there. Um, Medium-sized metros, which were more reliant on buses, experienced higher reduction in ridership. Um, and that's why you could see that translating into the auto delay. And this all observations could be related to the change in work patterns post-COVID, mostly due to the work from home and remote work uh, options available to people across different geographies in the US. Uh, Future patterns will keep evolving as with the work from home mandates, and that's all from our side. Yep. So any questions you have for us?
Great. Thank you so much, Vivek and Kartik, for the wonderful information on your report. As you mentioned, it was a little bit completed a little bit ago, but we do have a number of questions that were submitted during the registration process. One of them says, how will transit ridership look beyond 2022 and in the future? Will it be the 2029? Will it be, or excuse me, 2029, excuse me. When will it be 2019? When will those levels be back?
Um, it 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 really depends on the type of city and the type of traffic pattern. You won't really see 2019 levels back. Uh, uh, it we haven't seen the recent year data, but it could be a varied impact across cities. Like cities like San Francisco and Washington DC, you might not see the 2019 levels yet, but for other medium-sized metro areas where people were reliant on buses, you could see them back in 2019 levels.
Great. The next question says, which urban areas did you see transit recover and why?
Yeah, again, this could be related to people where are mostly reliant on buses and transit ridership for their commute needs. So it's mostly the medium-sized urban areas and the very large exceptions like Seattle and New York, where you could see transit ridership back again to nearly pre-COVID levels.
And then the next question comes in. It says, which modes recovered faster among transit and why?
I think it again depends on the geography you're looking at, but we mostly saw that buses and light rail, mostly like buses, saw a bigger recovery rates compared to heavy rail ridership, which was being used for commute patterns. Again, exceptions include New York City, where transit is used for variety of uses.
Great. Thank you so much. It doesn't look like we have Any additional questions? I did put the survey on the screen. So if you could either click on the link or scan the QR code that is on the screen to provide feedback, as the feedback provided is not only important to our presenters today, but also helps us identify other opportunities for training. So thank you. On behalf of the National Institute for Congestion Reduction, we do have another webinar scheduled for this coming Thursday, financial incentives to reduce vehicle miles traveled. Also, another report completed through the National Institute for Congestion Reduction. If you click on the link on the screen, that will take you to that registration page. So again, on behalf of NICR, thank you so much for joining us today, and we'll see you all real soon. Bye, everybody.
Good. Thank you. Nice meeting you.
Thank you so much.